All righty. Hello. My name is Sydney Isaacson, and this is Carla Miller. Did I get your
Hello.
name right?
Yes, you sure did. And this is my other half, Pearl.
And
So
this is Pearl with us today.
yes.
And if you're watching this video, you may or may not be impacted by the loss of someone to suicide. We are making this video to bring awareness to suicide, but not just that, but to also bring awareness to how to support someone who has experienced that kind of loss, the people that are kind of left behind, right?
Absolutely.
And yeah, yep. And we're on behalf of Phi Alpha organization with Saint Scholastica. That's kind of how we met, right, Carla?
It is. Yeah, I'm actually part of Phi Alpha through a different university. I'm actually doing my internship through St. Scholastica right now, and I have had the pleasure of working with Sydney through Phi Alpha. So it's kind of ironic that I'm a Phi Alpha member as well, but through a different organizations. And our worlds came together through the internship and through Phi Alpha's organization. So it's a pleasure to be working with you, Sydney.
Thank you. You as well,
Yeah,
Carla.
yeah.
I'm really thankful that you're here today. I will say a little bit about myself. My name is Sydney Isaacson. Or go by Sid. I am 25 years old. I'm a college student getting my bachelor in social work. And so I'm the president of the Phi Alpha officers for St. Scholastica. And I'm an addiction counselor and somebody who is in long-term recovery from substance use as well. Carla, could you share a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, thank you. I am a student as well. I attend Walden University. I'm in their Masters of Social Work program. I'm about a year in, and I'm actually doing my field foundational internship with, like I said, St. Scholastica, College of St. Scholastica. I'm a mom. I have two kids, one here with us here on Earth, and I have one that is in heaven, and we'll be talking about him throughout the interview. His name is Will. So there's Will and Ellie, mom, single mom. And yeah, I'm just here as part of this journey. I'm actually a full-time worker as well. I work in the area of human services. I have a history of working in children's mental health, child and family services. And so just really glad to be here to share my story and be here with you, Sydney.
Thank you so much for being here, and I just really applaud your determination and your strength, to show up and to be that voice for others. You truly do inspire me, and I feel like I'm a better person just from meeting you and knowing you now.
Same
So
here. Same here.
yeah.
Yes.
Carlo, could you start us off with telling us a little bit about your story?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Well, like I said, I'm a mom, and I went to school and I moved here to Minnesota back in 2003, got married in 2007. I had my beautiful children. Will was my firstborn. He made me a mama. He was born in 2008. Um, and then Ellie came along in 2009. So they're 23 months apart. Yeah. And then I was working, I was a full-time mom, loved my kiddos. They were my world, still are. And yeah, so, we had pretty much a pretty typical, uh, life besides the fact that I got divorced from their dad. I did remarry again, which didn't work out. I mean, blended families are really tough, as a lot of people know. So I divorced my second husband. However, I did the best I could to just kind of keep moving forward, keeping, in teaching my children that there's a lot of stuff that happens in life, that you just continue to do the best you can, and that we all make big mistakes and we all have really good successes too. So I just did the best I could to really balance off life. The kids have a relationship with their dad. And then, life continued. We were really busy with sports, activities. My kids are very well, I would say resilient. We had our ups and downs. And have a really good relationship with my parents. Their dad has had a really good relationship with his parents. He worked full time. I think from the outside, and looking at us and seeing two different households, you think, and I think this is with a lot of parents and a lot of families, like you see things are kind of normal on the outside. There's probably a lot of stuff going on within our houses, including mine. I'm not saying that it's perfect or in any way, but my children were doing great. Will was a honor student in school. He did wonderful, highly gifted. He had some anxiety. He was seen by a doctor, or not a doctor, I'm sorry, by a therapist for a little while. But he graduated from seeing her because he was doing really well.
Wow.
Yeah. So I don't know how much you want me to keep going, Sid, or if you want me to keep going on this, or is this, the time to do it?
Absolutely. If you're comfortable, absolutely, you can keep going.
So, we were just a family that, we got through our challenges, and we did, we continue to have the kids go to school and did really well. They were in sports. We balanced off all that stuff. And when Will was in 8th grade, it was May of 2022. He stayed home from school one day, and when we got home, Ellie and I found him. He was gone.
Wow.
And that was 4 years ago, and it's still really hard to just think about and to talk about sometimes, although I think people are afraid to just even ask. But I think the fact of the matter is that families who have lost ones by suicide, we want to continue to talk about them and our loved ones, because they are, I think, regardless of what we believe, they're always going to be a part of us. And so, when people ask me how many children I have, like I said earlier, I have my 2 children, one with me and one in heaven. So, so yeah, that's kind of what my story is. I'm a family peer specialist with DHS. So I really try to, I'm not currently in that work, but my hope and my biggest desire is to raise awareness and to be there for other families that are needing support with their kiddos that they lost through suicide. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Thank you so much, Carla. There's
Yeah.
no words for the loss, the kind of loss you have experienced. As a mother, I can't imagine that kind of pain, and I swear I cry every time I hear you talk about it, and every time I see a picture of Will too, because my heart hurts for you from one mom to another, and I think a lot of other moms too.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
it okay oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Is it okay if I pull up a picture of Will?
I would love that. Yeah, that would
Let
be great.
me.
And while you do that, I'm going to plug in my phone or my computer because it's going to die in a minute. So go for it.
Okay. Okay. Are you able to see my screen here too?
Let's see. I don't see anything yet. Did you hit the screen that it was on, and then I think you're supposed to hit something else after that, like save or.
Let's see here.
There you go. You got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is Will.
Yeah.
Carla, what can you tell us about this picture? I see there's a hashtag, will be free to dream.
Yes. Yeah. So this picture was actually used when we, so the first year that Will passed away, I think for myself, I was just running on adrenaline, and I think we're in a state of shock the first or second year when we lose children and even loved ones to suicide. For me, I was just like, it was just surreal, so you're just trying to try to make sense of it all. It was just really, all I could say is that it was in shock, and I was kind of in a fog. So the first year I said, well, I think what I'm going to do is I want to raise some money, and I want to raise money for something that Will would be proud of. And so he was a huge skateboarder, and he was also a downhill skier. And so that heart kind of shows that it shows a skateboard, and it also shows skis and
Oh, wow.
those grips there. So that's the heart. So we use that emblem. I have a nonprofit right now. It's called Will Be Free to Dream. And that helped me. It really helped me process and put some meaning behind what we were going through with, with his loss. And so David Kubler, or no, I'm sorry, what's her name? Kübler-Ross, the doctor that came up with the 5 stages of grief, Elisabeth
Yes.
Kübler-Ross. Yeah. So
Yep.
she had that. And then there was this other, there's this other author. Ooh, and I think, oh my goodness, his name is going to escape me, but he's wonderful. It might come to me later, but he came up with the 6th stage of grief, and that's meaning. And
Wow.
so when we lose somebody, regardless, and we're going through grief, what he had talked about is meaning. And I think for me, having this fundraiser and developing the nonprofit, that brought meaning to my love for him, for Will, and then also just meaning behind how do we move forward with this, And so again, hashtag will be free to dream is the kind of his signature. And the last 4 years now, we've created a fundraiser for the Rochester Community Ed to raise money so that kids could attend the Rochester Ski Club every Friday night. And I think we've actually sent like close to 10 kids who were able to participate by free. So
Wow,
yeah.
that is so amazing. And I just love that. I never had heard about the 6th stage of grief until now, the meaning, but it makes so much sense. I'm gonna have to share that with my clients too, for sure. Finding a way we all want to make sense of things in life, right? Like terrible things. And I think this is just an amazing thing that you did. We'll have to link the nonprofit in our description here to share that with others, because that's just so amazing.
So the author, I just looked it up. His name is David Kessler, and he does a beautiful job of, he's got like a class in grief. So awesome. And I believe it's the 6th stage of grief, or finding meaning. And so the book is called Finding Meaning, the 6th stage of grief by David Kessler. So.
Wow. Okay. I'm going to have to look that up, and I'm going to have to read that book for sure.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. I love his hair in this picture too. It's like the Justin Bieber kind of hair.
Yeah. He did not like his hair at that point, but I thought it was so beautiful. And I thought he would always, he was like a skateboarder. So he had like flung it all the time. And yeah, he was pretty cool. So
wow.
he is.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Yeah.
So jumping back here, I know that you briefly kind of had a conversation with me about Will's graduation, and that this is the year that he graduates high school. And so I was wondering if you are comfortable to share a little bit about that. I heard you're doing a couple different things to kind of honor him during that time.
Absolutely. Yeah. Again, I appreciate this, Sydney. I think with families that have lost loved ones to suicide, I think part of the healing process is just to continue to talk about our loved ones, and having this time with you is just great. And I hope that others are able to do the same with people that they love. I would just continue to just really emphasize talking with friends and family that they know who have lost loved ones, ask questions. And I know that we'll get into questions too, but I can't emphasize enough, again, by their direction and by their permission, so again, thank you for allowing me to just share. So as far as your question goes, you had asked about graduation, and yeah, this is his senior year, and I'm in the process of putting together a project with his friends, who I still have some communication with, but we're hoping to put like a video together of some questions around how young adults, so he passed away when he was 14, he'd be going on 18, I think this coming year, or would he be? Yeah, I think it's this coming year he would be 18. He was born in 08, so I can't think. I think 18.
When's his birthday?
January. So I think he'd be 18. Gosh, anyway. Yeah.
I can't remember how many months my son is, and he's only one. So we do months, but I mean, that's so normal.
Yeah, no, he would be 18 coming up in January. So yeah, it is. I'm not an adverse person, I'm a social worker, right? Like they say, better with social work.
Yeah.
But in any case, so yeah, we're trying to pull some people together, trying to just have a discussion around. My hope is to maybe share this at the graduation, that life is sometimes challenging. It could be challenging, and I think if we struggle with coping skills, then it could even be more challenging, right?
Absolutely.
So So I had asked his friends if they would be willing to maybe share a little bit or answer some questions around how did you make life within these last 4 years of high school be successful? And, on top of it, having a really good friend that passed away from suicide. How did you make that? How did you get through that?
Wow.
So
Yeah.
so that's, the friends had asked, well, are we going to make it more of like a suicide awareness focus? Are we going to make it more of like facing life challenges and becoming successful? And I said, I'd like to do all of that. Um, and my hope is, again, to share this at his graduation, possibly, maybe not, I don't know. But yeah, I think it's, again, to just continue to say it's okay to talk about suicide. It's okay to talk about um, your feelings around that, and I know that there's still, I was talking to two friends of mine who have lost their children too, and how I'm over in the Rochester, Minnesota area, so Southeast Minnesota, and we're a pretty progressive area. We're a medical community, and I think Rochester is pretty open to talking about suicide and bringing education. But I know a lot of our surrounding communities are, I think they're fearful of bringing somebody in to talk about it, because there is still that thought and belief that if you talk about it, that it might happen more often. And we know that research says that that is not the case, that by talking about it brings awareness and helps people to talk about it so that they're not feeling left alone, and that more people get help by talking about it. So
Absolutely.
again, that's my whole intention behind, having this video his senior year. I just feel like I just can't be quiet. And so
Oh,
that's why I
yeah,
want to, it's why not do it his senior year, so that's my thought.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow, that is so beautiful. And I think you're really taking a holistic approach to bring awareness to, like, not just like how am I affected and what can we do about this, but also like honing in on like his friends' experiences and validating like their loss and talking to them about how did you get through this, because this affected you so much too. And I hope that you're able to share that video at graduation. I think that that could offer so much healing for his friends as well.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
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 Wow.
That's my
Wow.
hope.
I have goosebumps. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Um, Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Of
It's
course.
so powerful. And what are some of the other ways that you honor your son or keep his memory alive? Because I know you do a lot of different things, things in the community. I mean, I can tell you're very like well versed in like talking
Mm,
about it, although it's like I know it's hard for you, but you're so well spoken, and you have so much information to share with others. So I'm
mm.
just wondering, what are some of the other things that you're doing?
I appreciate those compliments. I don't feel that way sometimes, but I think the more we talk about it, the more we learn. And I'm continuing to learn about just the stigma and awareness, and how to help, you know, uh, uh, so I think what we're trying to figure out, and I think there's a lot of money behind suicide prevention and suicide awareness. And my hope is that one day it just it doesn't exist, right? We want that all to happen, like any other fatal thing that happens to people. But what else do I want to know? Is that what the question was?
It was, what are some of the other things you do or ways that you
Oh,
like honor your son to keep his memory
okay.
alive?
Um,
It
I
can be personal things you do too. It doesn't have to
sure.
be like some big symbolic
Yeah.
thing either.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I try to bring his friends together for his birthday every year.
Oh,
I don't,
wow.
I don't know how they might think that I'm weird, because I'm always crying in front of them, and I'm like, these are happy tears, and we're coming together, just to honor him. Um,
If they keep
yeah,
showing up, they must not think it's weird.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you. Um, I don't know. I have a memorial stone outside with him, and my brother created that for him, and I have pictures up everywhere of him in the house.
Wow.
I talk to him all the time. I don't feel like he's gone. My spirituality is that, we don't go away, even though his body he's no longer here in his body, but I just feel like he's here. So I constantly talk to him. What else do I do? Yeah, I just I know Ellie, she's 15, and I think it depends on their age too, and just the way we process things as people. I think Ellie is just at a different place right now. his sister. She wants to eventually talk about him. And my hope is that I could write a book one day. I mean, that's my next big goal, is to talk about, being a parent that had a child that died by suicide. And that's my next big hope, is to do that. Staying connected to people in the community, talking to people, talking to whoever wants to talk about it, so yeah.
Wow. I love that. I think it's so amazing that you do talk about him. You said you can feel him because of your spirituality. I'm a Christian as well. I totally believe that, and I love that you have his pictures up, you have reminders of him, because I feel like sometimes when this happens, you'll see, and everybody grieves differently, right? But you'll
Yes,
see families
yes.
maybe putting away all the pictures, putting away all the things, and um, maybe just kind of not talking about it, not facing it for whatever reason. Maybe part of it's to protect themselves, or part of it could be the stigma around this as
Yeah,
well. But I
right,
just think it's so cool that you are able to just continue talking about him, because he's still your baby, no matter what.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah, and like you said, Sydney, I think we have to honor where people are at in their grief and their beliefs around, mental health and suicide. The one thing that I think I'd really like to make known about Will is that, like I said, he I think he faced some anxiety, and that was probably around 11 or 12 when I saw a lot of it coming out. And again, we brought him in to see a therapist, and that happened for a while. Later, when he was like 14, 13, 14, like I said, he was a highly gifted kid. He everything just came really easy to him when in school. However,
wow.
he felt like he was under pressure a lot. We talked about, do you want to still be in these highly gifted classes? Do you not? So we were kind of going back and forth and having discussions about that. Final, and the thing is too, with him, like, his grades weren't being affected. So that, to me as a mom, I was like, okay, when I
Yeah,
see that your grades are being affected, then we'll kind of figure out what we needed to do. And even so, if he wanted to, step down from the highly gifted, I would honor that totally. The thing of the matter is, though, I think with Will, he felt that if he stepped down from these highly gifted classes, that he would be teased or bullied, or, whatever. He wasn't sure what his peers would say. So I think that was also some pressure. The other thing is, he yeah, it was really tough. So eventually it was like the week of that he ended his life, we were going to bring him in for ADHD testing. But the bottom line is, though, is that a lot of people that die by suicide, they may not have a very clear or visual um, mental health diagnoses.
sure.
This could be anybody that we don't see these signs. So
Mhm.
for me, I work in the mental health field. There was a couple of things, but I never thought that this was going to lead to him ending his life. So
Well, who would, right? I mean,
right,
when I hear you talk about these things, it sounds like normal teenager struggles, normal
exactly,
teenager decisions. And it
exactly.
sounds like it just really, really took you and your family by surprise.
Yeah, yeah. And I
Wow.
think with kids too, they like, I'm not a medical expert and I don't know a lot about the brain, but I know that children up until and youth and young adults up until like they're 23, 24, their frontal cortex isn't fully developed, which has everything to do with their executive functioning and all of that. And I think with Will, you know, um, he might have had a moment where it was like, I'm done. I just, and he didn't think about the future, and that happens. And so
Right.
and we talk about warning signs and figuring out what those are, but I think the biggest thing is asking questions. So
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, right, because that's their prefrontal cortex. You're extremely right, and I know we talk about that a lot as addiction counselors, because the clients that I work with, they're adults, right? But their prefrontal cortex, part of it stops developing when they start actively using drugs, and it's the part that makes decisions. And so now you see these adults coming in, and they're not able to make rational decisions for themselves, but then take that, and then it's a minor, somebody that's a teenager, they have all these hormones coming into play too. It's like, one decision, they might not have the scope that this is forever. Yeah,
right, right.
yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. And then, yeah, we just don't know. We
we
don't know.
don't
And
know.
Well, I know that we're going to talk a little bit about resources and what's been helpful, but I want to just bring one piece that I learned through the mental health first aid, which we'll
Please
be
do.
talking about. But the one big thing is being comfortable to say, are you feeling like you're going to kill yourself? Or do you feel
Yeah.
like you're going to hurt yourself? Those
Wow.
are some words that I think a lot of us as people don't feel comfortable coming right out to ask kids, adults, but that's where we have to be very transparent. If you're having a gut feeling or a feeling of somebody down or thinking or even talking about that, the biggest question to ask is, do you think you might want to hurt yourself? Are you thinking about killing yourself? What can we, let's talk about it. So, and that I know that I've always talked to my kids about, we're always here for each other. If you need anything, let's talk about it, but I don't know if I ever got to a place of asking Will, and I didn't see, I think, any indicators that said that he wanted to, but I know there were days where he was wanting to stay home more often. He was more in his room. So I think looking back, those are maybe some indicators that I probably could have asked, but again, you just don't know.
You don't know. Right, right. But it sounds like listen to your intuition,
Yeah,
trust your intuition.
yeah,
And if you feel like something's off,
yeah,
um, we do need to get used to asking the question. And I think even back in 2008, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like it seems like suicide awareness is becoming more and more talked about now. But I don't know if it was super talked about back then as much.
yeah. I don't know. I think I was back working in child protection during that time, and I remember us just talking about the words transparency,
Mm.
and that was just becoming kind of more of like a way to practice, And so today, I think it's important, and I even think like in substance use and chemical dependency in those areas, it's really important to be transparent. And so, yeah, I think that's super duper crucial, is really talking from your gut and talking about, what you're thinking and what you're feeling in a constructive way, obviously. But yeah,
Yeah,
so
thank you so much.
yeah, sure.
So, I kind of want to now go into some of the other things that we want to talk about. So, again, I think suicide awareness, it often focuses on the person who has been lost, but isn't often focused on the people who lost that person. And so, I thank you so much again for being here today willingly to kind of answer questions and help so many people to better understand how to support people that are directly impacted from
Mhm.
death by suicide.
Yeah.
I know you wrote up kind of a nice like handout, and it's
Yeah.
very informative to have when talking to people about suicide loss.
Yeah.
I will link that in our video, but I'd love for you to kind of read it to us if you're
Sure.
comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So everyone experiences grief in their own way, which we talked about. The grief that comes from losing a loved one after a long illness is very different from the grief of an unexpected loss. And the grief of a parent carries the grief a parent carries after losing a child to suicide is unlike any other kind of loss. And I'm not minimizing any type of grief at all. Not trying to.
Right. No, you're just pointing out, that this is a very specialized kind of grief. And
Yeah.
I think that that's really important for people to recognize when they're having these conversations.
Yeah, yeah, and we again, I think we just manage it differently, and we approach it differently when we're working with people, and in the midst of people that are going through these different types of loss. Before asking questions of someone who has lost a loved one to suicide, it is important to be mindful of several things. One of the most significant considerations is how recent the loss occurred. And speaking with many parents who have lost a child to suicide, a common experience is the sense of numbness, shock, and disorientation. Like I was talking about a little earlier, a fog that settles in and makes it difficult to process anything beyond the immediate moment. When my son Will passed, one of my first thoughts was that planning a benefit or fundraiser would help me keep him close. In some ways, doing something in his honor allowed me to feel his presence, especially surrounded by his friends and the people who loved him. Focusing on an event helped me stay connected to the joy, love, and light that Will brought into the world, rather than only the pain of losing him. The first year after losing someone to suicide often feels like running on adrenaline and shock. Because of this, it is essential to be aware of where a person is emotionally, before asking about their loss. Always ask for permission before talking about their loved ones and allow them to share only what feels comfortable. Most of us who have lost a child or loved one want to continue to speak or talk about them, honor their memory, and include them naturally in conversations. Again, generally speaking, I don't know, this is part of what my journey was. Again, I'm generally speaking to this point. Just as we did, before they transitioned. Having someone ask about our support system, such as, do you have people around you who are supporting you, can be deeply grounding and caring. So that's what I wrote.
Wow, thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. And I do really like hearing your perspective. And I think it makes a lot of sense, you know, especially the part where you said to naturally, I think that's like maybe one of the key words, like naturally include them in your conversations, you know, because I'm sure, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm sure that, you know, if someone is talking to you that you know well and they're really trying to filter what they say so they don't say the person's name or this or that, it can probably feel a little bit inauthentic, I would think.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it just depends on the person, you know, sometimes.
Sure.
Yeah, it all depends, you know, and as long as you're being considerate, I think that's all that matters. So
Thank you.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
And I do have some more questions here, but I also just wanted to let you know if at any time, you know, you need to take a break or something, we can always stop recording because I feel like some of these are kind of hard.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
My first one is when you hear that someone you're close to has just lost someone to suicide, like what do you do? Like I'm talking like this person like they just found out, you know, maybe the night before or something, and they come to you and they tell you about it. What do you do in that situation? Like what do you say? How can you support that person with such a big immediate loss?
Yeah, it's a good question. So it was when I lost Will, we were home. He was home. And it was within the first hour we had law enforcement, emergency services come out. And it was really cool. And this is something I'd probably encourage if they haven't already, crisis response teams to also come out that are experienced in knowing how to talk through crises and traumatic events. There was a social worker that was at the site with me, and she was just like, Carla, I'm here from the county. I'm just here, you know, what do you need? And I think that's the biggest thing is whether it be a family member that you know that lost somebody, a stranger that you're maybe working with and that you haven't worked with for more than a month. I think the biggest thing is to say and just ask and just honor them and honor their loved one, and just, you know, ask, what do you need? What can I do?
Wow.
You know, I think that's the biggest thing is I'm here for you. You're not alone. Because I think you're in a state of shock, you know, it's like, oh my God, you know, but it's just the point of just saying, I'm here.
I'm here. What do you need?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I want to do what I can to help, you know, and that's all that you can really do. I don't think that for me, I'm pretty extroverted, you know, and I do talk a lot, but you just don't know where they're at in their headspace. And so just honoring that and letting them know that they're not alone, I think is the most significant thing that they probably need to hear at that point. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Thank you so much for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
My next question is kind of similar. It's just in general, when you know someone has experienced a suicide loss, so not, you know, maybe this isn't like right after, right? But in general, what are some ways to support that person?
So I'm going to tell you, I'll probably, if I could do two different things. One
Yeah.
is probably not what to do, probably things not to do.
Things not to do. Thank
And then
you.
secondly, what can you do? You know, I
Yeah.
think again, I think generally coming from your heart is probably the number one thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
I had a cousin, my cousin had lost one of her sons from fentanyl overdose, and not really close to her. I mean, I'm in Minnesota, my family's in Illinois. And when I learned this, and this is before Will had passed away, just ignorance. It's pure, it's innocent, it's innocence, but it's also being ignorant innocent ignorance, maybe
Innocent ignorance. I like that. Yeah.
because you just don't know and you haven't been through it. So
Yeah.
my first, after like months of her going through this, and I love her, and I'm just so sorry the way that I had felt then. But it's like you don't want to hear that. You don't want to hear the things you don't want to hear are you'll get through it, or it's so good that you had so much time with him or her on earth. You were so blessed by that.
Mhm.
I think those are the things that are just that can just maybe they're comforting for some people, but I think the parents that I've talked to and the groups that I've been a part of, it's more of, and again, I think it's that innocent ignorance that I'll use is that we want to comfort, people want to comfort you. And and I think that's where they're at in their heart is that they want to help you move forward from this. And but I think the biggest thing that could be helpful is to honor where they're at and that pain where they're at is the biggest thing. And don't help them to move forward.
Right. Wow. Yeah, because when you say that, it makes sense because it almost sounds like invalidating your current experience. Like, well, at least you got this, or you're gonna get through it. Like, it doesn't sound like it's something you really ever get through. I mean,
Exactly.
that's
Exactly. Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Wow. And you just made me think of another question. Do you think that when people say things like that, do you think part of it could be stemming from a place of their own discomfort with the topic?
Oh, 100%. Absolutely. I think we want to help people, right? And I also think when people are feeling uncomfortable, I think the biggest thing that they know to say is you're going to get through it.
Right. They
And
want to fix things.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
Here's the big bow, and
Yeah.
you'll get through it, right? Because that
Wow.
helps to not necessarily, I mean, I don't think that a lot of people know what to say. We don't know what to say. I,
Right.
we've lived through those things and sometimes I still don't know what to say.
Absolutely.
I was just at a fundraiser.
Oh yeah. How did,
It was
yeah.
beautiful. It was beautiful, Sid. It was so
Oh,
beautiful. And I'm gonna shout out my angel here on earth, Cody from We Saw the Light. Beautiful
oh,
organization that helps support families for the first year that they've lost a loved one to suicide that live in Minnesota. And I was there over the weekend, and all I could do was just give people hugs. I'm a hugger, so I asked for permission if I could just hug them, and some said yes, some said no, but still, and it's like, yeah, sometimes you don't know what to say. So
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Wow. Wow. So that's just a really good thing to remember. Is just like, don't try to fix this person's problem. Don't try, be okay with accepting that these are things you can't fix
mhm.
for a person. It's not something that can be fixed ever. And it's never going to be fixed.
And I think us as us wearing the social work hat too, we call it that person-centeredness,
Yeah.
person-centered work. Be there
Right.
with them and be there with what they need
Mhm.
and take their lead, take their lead and figure out, not necessarily figure out, but just be with them and ask,
Yeah.
what is it that I could do, if
Mhm.
anything, to help you right now? Is there anything that you need? So,
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. Amazing. So avoid the solution focus and more
right?
just like put it back in their hands. Let me meet
Yes,
you where you're at.
yes, exactly.
Wow. So
Yes.
powerful. Um, And oh yeah, my next question is really just ties into what we were just talking about, but how do we know what someone's boundary is when talking about a loved one that's passed by suicide? Like if it's a question, like how do we ask that question?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Let's say, for instance, that we're working with somebody
Yeah.
that just lost, and that that's impacting maybe their life, their mental health right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that this is something that happened to them. You don't know
Yeah.
how comfortable they are talking about it. I would to know their boundaries is to probably ask what their boundaries are.
Mm-hmm.
I think to be transparent and just say, I I'm struggling too right now, and I'm here to help provide whatever support you need. So if I cross a boundary, please let me know. I
Yeah.
think that that would probably be the first step.
Wow.
And this is just
Yeah.
coming from a place of probably working with families for a long time. I don't know if that's the solution, but that might be a good place to start.
Yeah, like you're giving them that safe space where they know that they can speak up if you do say the wrong thing,
Yeah,
and that they can correct you and you're not going to be offended,
yeah,
because it's you're going to learn from it.
Right. Or
Wow.
maybe, is there maybe somebody that you want to have while we're talking through it? Do you have a support
Mm,
person maybe that you
wow.
would help, that might help you talk through what we need to talk about right now? You know,
Wow. Yeah.
asking what would make it better for them or make it more easy to talk through. So,
Sure, sure. Absolutely. I really like that. And I like the simplicity of it too, where it's just like, you know what are your boundaries? That's a cool one too. I like that. And yeah, the offering them to have a person of support with, when
right,
talking about it if needed.
right.
I love it. Um, and you kind of already answered this one, but I'm just gonna ask it again in case there's anything else. If there's not, that's okay. But what's like just not okay to say?
Again, yeah, we shared a little bit, like, you'll get through it. You know,
Yeah,
this is just
you'll
a
get
tough
through
time
it.
right now. You're gonna get through it.
Mhm.
Dismissing the whole thing is,
Yeah,
if you ask questions or if you make comments around trying to dismiss it because you feel uncomfortable, don't say anything. I
just don't
think
say anything at all.
no, and again, I think people maybe genuinely want to help. Um, but if you're feeling like you can't talk about it or you feel uncomfortable talking about it, don't ask any questions or don't make any. I would say just remaining silent, maybe. That's my thought.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. On the flip side of that, what is okay to say? And I know you already touched on this as well. So if there's nothing else too, that's okay.
Yeah. What's okay to say? What is okay to say to a person that lost somebody to suicide? What is okay to say? I That's a big, huge question, I think. Um, I think the biggest thing is maybe I'm sorry. I'm really sorry
Mm,
that you're in this place.
wow.
I
Yeah.
can't imagine being in the place that you're at right now.
I
Even
can't imagine. I feel like that's a big one. Yeah. Instead of like I get it. I lost my uncle or
yeah, yeah. That's a
Yeah.
good point, Sid. I think, and again, grief in losing somebody, regardless of who it is that you love, it's it could be tragic. It could be comforting to see them go because they were in so much pain.
Sure.
I think, but the thing is, comparing to me, comparing, like if my significant other said to me, Carla, I know how it is because I lost my mom, or I know how it is because I lost my grandma. There,
Mm,
it's different. It's so different losing a child
yeah.
to suicide than to lose a grandparent. It's different. The cycle of life. A parent, you don't expect to lose your child.
It's unnatural.
Absolutely, it's so unnatural. So to say something like that, to me, it's kind of like a stick in the heart.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but again, I think people are trying to come from a place of love and wanting to be in that place with them, and that's where they're able to do it is by saying something like that. But again, to just know it's different, and please consider saying something that just think about that. That's my thought.
Wow. Thank you. I really appreciate that. And I think like, yeah, absolutely. And your experience is different than even like a father's experience would
Yeah,
be because you're the mother and that's like a bond. I know that's like no other,
yeah,
with your babies. So I
yeah.
think that's really important for people to take note of. Yeah. Can you speak a little bit about, and I know we've talked about this before. I don't think we've talked about this on here, but
Mhm.
could you speak a little bit about the importance of using the right verbiage when
Yeah,
speaking about this topic?
yeah, yeah. I think I was just in a training with NAMI the other day, and
Wow.
I think it's becoming a little bit more. I think we're trying to educate more on what words we use, right? So,
Yeah.
and I think this is becoming more well known is not using the phrase "he committed suicide," because again, too, because what we're learning is that the word "commit" is associated with a crime, um, some type of crime, or it's just a negative connotation to suicide. So
Absolutely.
instead, using the words "he had died by suicide," she died by suicide, or she passed by suicide, is definitely more comforting to hear than that word "commit."
Absolutely.
Yeah, and you and I talked about the word prevention versus awareness, and I think that there's always a space for both. I think when we're talking to parents about preventing suicide, talking to parents that have lost, or even anyone that's lost a loved one by suicide or a friend by suicide, using the words preventing almost is the only word that comes to mind is it could be offensive because we would have done anything in our power to have prevented
Right.
that,
Right.
right?
Like it's almost like a I feel like it almost puts a little bit of blame out there, or like
For
a,
sure.
you know, something
Yeah,
that was avoidable. When I mean, hearing even like you talk about what happened to you with Will, it's like those, you know, these are normal things. It's not always these big signs, you know?
right,
So I
right.
can totally see how prevention could be just hard to hear.
Hurtful. Yeah. And just
Yeah,
it could hurt your heart, right? And so
right.
so just being conscious of, when you're sharing information or talking about it,
Mm.
using the word suicide awareness and using the word suicide prevention. So I think that those are big to think about too.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I appreciate that a lot, because
Yeah.
once you educated me on that, I just stopped using the word prevention pretty much altogether, just because I can't unthink that now. I'm like, wow, like what a hard thing to hear, you know, if
Yeah.
you're someone who has lost a child, or, you know, to suicide.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
know like AFSP, American, oh gosh, Foundation for Suicide Prevention,
Yeah.
love them because there's lots of research behind and they're doing lots of research, gathering a lot of important information to help prevent it, which
Right.
is a huge need. So again, I think the
Yes.
word definitely needs to be used, but being
Sure.
cautious about when you're using it and who you're using it
When
with. So
when's the right place and time?
yes, exactly.
Sure. Yeah, that
Exactly.
makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Um, the next question I have for you is, and we kind of went over this already too. I mean, it was what has been your least preferred thing that someone says in regards to your loss?
Yeah.
And you kind of said, you know, just kind of minimizing it, or saying I went through the exact same thing, you know, with a situation that's not the
Right.
same.
Right.
Absolutely. Well, this next question I think you'll like. It's what have been some of the most helpful and supportive things that others have said or done to support you?
Yeah. Oh, again, I think just acknowledging him. Um, how are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing to take care of yourself?
Mm.
How's your daughter doing?
Um,
Uh, what do you like you were asking what are you doing to honor Will? What are you
mm,
doing to keep his presence alive in your life?
yeah.
I think those are big. So
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's really helpful to know. And I really like your take on how, you know, you say like most parents do want to talk about this, you know, especially because I feel like in the past there wasn't a lot of space made for people to talk about these kinds of things, you know, because it
Mhm.
was kind of this icky thing. And then there's people like yourself that are coming in and changing the narrative and changing the world by changing that narrative, and um, having a positive impact on so many people. So I just think that's great.
Well, I think it's great that you're doing the interview too. So you're part of it.
Thank you.
Right?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
And that brings me to what can we do to help spread that awareness and minimize the stigma associated with talking about suicide?
Mhm. Well, again, it was just this past week that we had this training. It's called Calm and it's
Okay.
through NAMI. Don't ask
Okay.
me what it's an acronym and
Hmm.
it has to do with lethal means.
Okay.
So, um, so he talked about how we kind of perceive suicide. And again, it was years ago, it was kind of looked upon and frowned upon. I think a lot of it was around um, it was just frowned upon. So I think today, I think the biggest thing that we can do to kind of bring awareness to it is to know that it could happen to anybody.
Yeah.
It could happen to anyone, anybody. And I think the way that we look at it, rather than saying something like he committed suicide, thinking about that a little bit and thinking about when a person has cancer and when they died by cancer, you wouldn't say they committed cancer, or
Right.
they
Right.
committed um, things like that. So just trying to make it more and helping us to be more aware that this is something that could happen to anybody, and
Anybody.
looking at it as as that. We died by cancer, we died by suicide,
Right.
we died by having a brain tumor, we died by suicide. He ended his life.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think to make it a little bit more okay to talk about and more comforting to talk about, having a different perspective on it. So
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's so important, to avoid oh, it would never happen to me, or it would never happen to my family. I heard this thing, and I think it was on TikTok actually recently, but it said something like everything seems preventable until it happens to you.
all right.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
definitely.
so that's just spot on, Sydney.
Mhm.
Like, who would think, unless, their child or husband has been dealing with mental health all their life. My dad, I have a family, I come from a family who, we've managed our mental health. And I think that unless it's it's so apparent, that
Mhm.
who would think, who would think that they would have cancer, or get that, or you just don't know. You don't know. So
Wow.
yeah.
And my last question before we kind of move to the presentation is,
Yeah.
what would you say to someone who might be watching this video and has experienced a similar kind of loss?
Again, I think we said earlier, I think the biggest thing is, I'm so sorry.
Mm, so sorry.
I'm so sorry that this is what you're going through. This is what happened to your family. This is what happened to your loved one. I'm so sorry. That's the biggest thing that's probably the one thing that I could say to them and feel comfortable saying to them, you know.
Wow. That speaks
So,
volumes.
mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah,
Thank you. And I love Pearl joined in for that one as well.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to pull up our slides here. I think it's important, that we, although we're mainly focusing on how to support a loved one who's affected by the loss of somebody to suicide, I think it's also important to talk about some of the basics of um, what to look for, what are some of the resources available out there to help people, um, and some tips about talking to people about suicide, talking to someone who's thinking about suicide, how to offer that person support as well. So I'll
Mhm.
pull this up here. Oh, hold on. I think I'm gonna have it. So trying to think if I should do side by side, or maybe I'll just do content only. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna go to presenter view. Oh, okay. Can you see this okay?
Yes, you're good.
Okay. So, of course, we want to dedicate this whole video and the presentation in honor of and with loving dedication to Will Zolner.
And I would also add, just to families that have also lost ones.
Yes,
So
yes.
yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, just to start, we have some of the signs that maybe we can look for in people. The first one would be abnormal behaviors for that specific person. So, I mean, I feel like, Carla, you're talking about your son. It's like those are things like you wouldn't even think about unless maybe you knew that person really well. So I think that this one is important, abnormal behaviors for that specific person, because there's no one size fits all in this situation.
Right.
Right.
For sure.
It could be sleeping more or sleeping less. Do you have any thoughts about this one here?
Well, I think I had added the part where he was sleeping more.
Okay, yeah.
And I think um, one of the big things too is if they're asking for help, or if they're asking for some direction, honor that. Even if it's like a cry wolf, I think, situation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think we have to really figure out and honor when they're asking for help. I wouldn't take that lightly. So
Absolutely. Thank you so much
yeah,
for that.
yeah, yeah.
I think we were talking about this subject recently in one of my groups, and somebody said, we need to stop looking at a cry for help as a negative thing, right? Because it's like that's somebody who is reaching out, somebody who is saying, look, I'm not okay right now.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Heightened anxiety or worry. And so I see you added trouble focusing. I would think that would be a sign for with youth, right? Would be trouble
Absolutely.
focusing.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And if they're saying that they're having trouble focusing, honor that, and
Mm-hmm.
make sure that you talk more about that with them.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know what? I think I'm gonna fix our layout here. I feel like I'm gonna put it, should we do side by side?
Whatever works for you. I
I think okay.
I was
Let's,
able to see it a little bit better the last way you had it.
okay. I'm gonna fix that quick
Okay.
here.
I'm glad you're running the show because I would be all over the place.
Well, it's just like, this kind of feels weird. I can't see.
Okay.
I'm like, I want to see you here. Uh,
Okay.
oh, okay. So now we're side by side, so they can see
Okay.
us and yeah. Okay. So giving away belongings could be another sign as well. Um, yeah, I can think of a time years ago where I was working with a person and they got rid of their place that they lived. They sold their place that they lived. They moved into a community home. This was an older person, I'll say, as well. And I didn't really think much of it at the time because I didn't know all of these things. But
Mhm.
looking back, I'm like, oh, that could have been something, I suppose. But to me, I feel like maybe I had a little bit of ageism going on. I'm thinking like, oh, they're just older, right? They're just kind of downsizing because they're older. But
Yeah.
yeah, that can be a good indicator as well.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And then a sudden increase in mood or energy. And I want to know, Carla, do you have any comments or anything about this one? Because I feel like this one always surprises me, the increase of mood or energy.
Well, I learned it's the book that Kurt Cobain's aunt wrote, and I again don't know the name of the book. If you want to look
Okay.
it up, I would do Kurt Cobain's aunt book, and maybe you'll find it. So one of the big things that she wrote in that book, I didn't read the whole book. It was really, really heavy for me at the time. But what she said is that when people are in a place where they are feeling suicidal and that there's really no other way out, um, they get to a place of they're in a tunnel. It's almost like they're living in a tunnel and they're walking through this tunnel and they're so hyper focused on figuring out a way to make all of this pain end. And when they get to the place where they have decided this is what's going to happen, this is what they're going to do, there's a sense of relief that comes over them. Like there's a weight that
Wow.
just comes, and I'm not saying this is for everybody, but this is what she described as, I don't know if that's what Kirk had gone through, but it's pretty typical for people that are going through these stages. And
It
at the
was written
end,
by his mom.
no, his aunt. It was an aunt that wrote
Oh,
it. She is an RN, and I can Google it here, but yeah. And so I think when we're looking at,
dying to be free.
there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just something to think about is, when you've been with a person or a person that's been very depressed or you just don't know what they're going through and all of a sudden it looks like they're doing much better and maybe they are doing much better, but there could be a sense of relief and that they know that it's going to end soon because they have a plan. So I think that that's maybe where that point came from, Sydney.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Thank you for describing that because that makes a lot more sense to me now.
yeah.
The next one we have is writing goodbye notes or making goodbye phone calls, depression and isolation. And those are I feel like the depression and isolation, I feel like no matter what, anyone with depression and isolation, we if we see it, say something to that person, right? We should ask them, how are you doing? Are you doing okay? Because some of these, it's like, yeah, they very well could just be on their own and not signs, but still responding to these things I think is important.
Yeah.
Um,
And I think that's where this, like I was talking earlier about the mental health first aid, is really starting to become comfortable about asking, are you in a place that you're going to hurt yourself? Do you have a
mm,
plan? Do you feel like killing yourself? What do we need to do right now to get you some help? if they answer yes to any of those. I think the other thing too, as part of that, you talked about like writing letters too. We have children that are on social media all the time. And I think a little bit, I think one of Will's friends had talked a little bit about him talking about dying, and
Wow.
kids, I think, there's lots of bullies out there that talk about, well, why don't you just go kill yourself? I've heard so many stories about that. And it's like, kids just can't get away from their peers, and so thinking about that and thinking about if you're an adolescent and you're watching this, and if it comes into your hands and you see people and friends talking about that, please talk to somebody about it. Please bring it to an adult's attention about what you're seeing on social media. It's okay. It is okay. We will sort through it with you. You could save a life by doing that. So super important.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I mean, you just summed up the last one too, is like saying things like, I would be better off dead. And I feel like this is a big problem in, I don't want to just say youth culture, but because it's also like adults too. But I think that this is too common these days, saying things like, I'm going to kill myself, like in a casual way, And so, but in another sense, I would be better off dead. This can also be a sign. So I think asking that question is important, and I think we could all do our part to unnormalize joking about killing yourself as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they say, well, I think the research says that death by suicide in children between the ages of 10 and 14 it's a second leading cause of death. And
Yeah.
so if
Yep.
we can at least help, lower that number even a little bit would be awesome.
Huge. Yes.
Right?
So the next section we have here is about how to talk to someone. So someone shares with you that they're struggling maybe with depression or is thinking suicidal thoughts. How can we respond and show up for that person? So the first one is to let that person know that you're listening, and I guess I can just think about myself, like when I feel listened to is when somebody's, kind of looking at me. They're not like walking around doing something, they're not on their phone. Maybe they're making some nonverbal communication, like, oh, when I'm talking to them. So I feel like there's a lot of ways you can let people know that you're listening to them.
Absolutely. Yeah. Reiterate what they're saying, kind of repeat back what they're saying so that you have it right, right? That's one of the skills that we learn in school is, talking about and repeating what you're hearing so that you're being accurate with what they're thinking, right?
Yeah, right. I saw this, I think it was the 2025 suicide prevention video. I forgot who it's by. I think it was by SAMHSA, maybe.
Okay.
And they talked about this one little trick where you're talking to someone about this, and you have that inkling that they're having suicidal thoughts, and you say, wow, that must be excruciating for you. Like you take it like 3 levels further. And maybe that, they have the option to then say, oh, actually, it's not quite that bad. But also you're saying that I'm here for you even if it's this bad, even if it's at your worst, right? So just kind of like normalizing that it's okay to be hurt and that you're not uncomfortable with their pain, listening to their pain.
Yeah. No, that's good. I like that. So you might be overthinking it a little bit, of what they're going through, but at least you're thinking about it. And
Yeah.
you're giving them the message that I'm here and I'm hearing what you're saying and I'll be here,
Yes.
even if it is that big.
Yep. I'm willing to be here for you at the worst of it. Yeah. So showing your stuff. Oh, go ahead.
No, I think even backing up a little bit more is just acknowledging that they're even talking to you and saying, I really appreciate that you're bringing this to me today. We just had a conversation, my daughter and I, the other day, and it was something heavy. And I said, you know what, honey, I am so happy that you brought that to me. And it is so mature of you to be able to think that and say, Mom, I need help with this, so it's huge yeah, it's really huge to be able to bring that to someone to say I'm hurting. So
Yeah, and what an honor it is to be able to hear that part of that
yeah,
person.
yeah, and letting us walk with you through that if that's what you need. So
Wow,
yeah,
wow.
yeah,
I
right.
think that that just beautifully kind of goes into 2 and 3, showing your support and encouraging them to keep talking, as you said, like thanking them, um really listening to them, being fully present in that moment. What are some of your tips, would you say, for like encouraging people to keep talking?
Again, tell me what else. What else are you thinking?
Mm-hmm.
Is there
Yeah,
anything else? What else is there that you're thinking about? Just
gotcha.
amplifying what they're saying, right? And just continuing to say and asking, I think we know not to ask like yes or no questions, but to ask questions that will help them um, build on, and just share like, so tell me what you're like the question, what are you thinking today? What
Mm,
brought you here? What is it that, um, tell me more about that pain or tell me more about those thoughts that you're having.
yeah,
So,
yeah. Those open-ended questions that can't
right,
just be answered with a, oh, I'm good, or yes, no.
right, right, right,
And then asking them about changes in their life and how are you coping with that?
right.
Yeah, like, and I think that goes a long way to show someone that you're really interested in what they're talking about. You actually care.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, again, I think this encompasses all of that. So, for sure.
Absolutely. And then, as you said, be direct if you think that they're thinking about suicide. So being comfortable asking that question, do you feel like you want to hurt or kill yourself? And I know that here at as a counselor, if somebody says yes, then we take it a step further and we say, do you have a plan?
Yes, yep,
And that's how we kind of determine, I mean, no matter what, we're going to get this person help, but we can determine then if it's an immediate crisis or if it's a referral to services and support, but maybe not a 911 call right now.
yes, yep, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. Alrighty. So the next part is tips for responding. So what can you say if you think they're telling you they are thinking about killing themselves? What do you think about this one, Carla?
Again, I would acknowledge and just say I'm grateful that you are coming to me today and we're talking about it. That would be the first thing I think. And um, just know that I am going to do whatever I can to get you the help that you need right now. So,
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think another big one too is to remain calm in that moment. I think part of it is like normalizing these conversations. We're not going to act like this person is crazy for bringing this up.
right.
Even like sharing about maybe if you've had similar struggles, right? And I think the other important thing here is again to clarify: is this a call to 988, or is this person at immediate risk in the moment? And there is more information on those things as well. I would encourage everyone to look into it on the NAMI website, which is where these are pulled from. These steps. There's more information about all of these on there.
I think there's wonderful resources out there too. I mean, there's so many great resources. The hashtag 988 is huge.
Yes,
Calling 988 is probably a great step because the people that are on those calls are trained. So even as a professional and even as somebody in the human services world and social services, if we need to call, don't hesitate because we can always use a buddy to help us with that.
absolutely.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you.
Following their lead is another important one, and we talked a lot about that, knowing when to take a break. How to suggest that they could benefit from professional help. And, for this one, I think normalizing is one of the big keys here, like saying something like, I do mental health therapy weekly, and I found it really helpful to work through some of my stuff. Maybe it's something you would be willing to try.
Yeah.
Just kind of normalizing it. I know that I think I told you the story, but I was at the park and I was with my son, and this little girl asked me what I do for work, and I said I'm a counselor, and she said, like a therapist. I said, yeah, and she said, aren't therapists for crazy people? And
Right.
I didn't have to say anything. Her mom corrected her, but I think normalizing that and then helping them connect. Number 9 could be even like, let me drive you to your first appointment, or I'll help you fill out the intake paperwork. I'll help you go on their website, or maybe like let's get lunch after your first session, and you can kind of share if you liked it or not.
I think just kind of going back to Sid, I know we want to wrap up too, but just the thought of normalizing things. And if you don't feel comfortable using your own story because maybe you don't know the person,
Mm,
just saying that we know that you're not alone.
you're not
There's so
alone.
many people that need that help that you're going to be getting soon, and we're here to help you walk through it. So just reassuring them that they are not alone. That there's so many people out there, more so today than ever before, that need the help. So I think that's huge. And then for that little girl, it's interesting to see and to know that there's still that message out there that people are getting that seeing a therapist is because you're crazy. And so
Right.
that just to me tells me that we have so much more
Work to do.
education to provide, right, to
Yeah.
people. So yeah,
Yeah. Absolutely. If anything, people who go to therapy are maybe a little less crazy,
right.
maybe a little more self-aware and
Yes,
in touch with their emotions.
yes,
Um,
absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. And I think that kind of sums up the concern about privacy. I feel like that kind of goes into like the stigma about it. So, normalizing it. Like you said, like you're not alone. Lots of people do this.
Right, right.
We do have some resources here as well. We mentioned some of them, but Carla, would you like to share just a little snippets about these resources we have here?
Sure. And then I gotta run because my daughter is texting me already.
Okay,
So
absolutely.
we talked a little bit about We Saw the Light. You can find that on Facebook if you just go right to We Saw the Light. They're for families that help support families that it's for families. They help support families that have lost a loved one. And again, they help people within the first year of their loved one's death. Beautiful organization. QPR is another way to help individuals that are going through, or if you're in the presence of somebody that you feel needs help. QPR Institute has a lot of good resources around how to talk to people that you feel might currently be suicidal or need some support. And I'll share my last one, Sid, is the one that I have put on here is Mental Health First Aid. We referenced this throughout the conversation that we had. They have training to help both youth and adults. And so I would suggest looking at their website as well. So
additional resources here, we have our SAVE. Did we go over that one?
no, we didn't.
SAVE, Suicide Awareness Voices of Education. They offer a lot of different kinds of resources. They have ones for people that are impacted by suicide, but they also have classes and different services they offer there. Oops, let's go back one. Then we have 988, of course, we talked about that. We talked about NAMI and SAMHSA, which is the Substance Abuse Mental Health. What's the last essay?
Is it suicide awareness or no? Is it something different?
No, you're probably right. You're probably right.
I'm sure there's a website that they can look into, but a lot of great
Yes.
resources on mental health and substance abuse. Absolutely.
And then I have some more pictures here of Will I wanted to include in your beautiful family, your girl as well, Ellie.
Yes, that's Ellie. Yes.
Oh,
Yep.
beautiful picture.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Sid. I appreciate this. And again, this is just, I would say this is just, my heart goes out to all the families that have lost a loved one and also that are struggling with, family members that have attempted. There's a lot of pain behind that. There's also a new term called soft suicide, and it's almost like people are intentionally hurting themselves so that eventually they pass, whether that be from alcohol poisoning or whatever it is. But there's that new term that's out there. So again, my heart is with all those families. So
Absolutely. And lastly, I just have this picture of you here with Will as a baby, and this is the one that gets me every time because he's, he looks like he's about my baby's age right there. And I think the last thing I'd like to say to others is everybody is somebody's baby, so
great.
be kind.
Be kind. Yes. Thank you. Yes.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Carla.
Yeah, Sydney. Thank you.
Hey, I know you have to run and go pick up your baby. But yeah, I thank you so much for coming in and being vulnerable and being so brave to just share your story with others.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a lot of wonderful resources. There's a lot of great Facebook groups that I'm a part of. There's another organization called Helping Parents Heal. I know it's not on there, that just came to mind, that has so many great resources for families that have lost loved ones. Yeah, but again, if we can stay connected and help anyone that needs the help, I'm there. So
Thank you so much.
yeah, thank you.